It's a pleasure to be here. I'll give you a brief overview of Dunnedin and what we're about. As Chen said, we're an exploration story. We're not building a mine, we're not developing a project. What our shareholders want from us is discoveries. And it's a very risky business, but if we're successful, the returns can be substantial. And at this time, it's a very exciting time for our company because we are drilling as we speak, and it will only be a couple of weeks before we get our first set of results. This is a quick overview of our project portfolio. We are focused on copper and on copper porphyry projects. We have 3 of them. What they all have in common is they are 100% owned by us. They all have a large footprint. That's why we picked them. They all have real size potential. And they are all advanced exploration projects. So this is not greenfield exploration, but all of our projects have had previous drilling, have had already some good results that are our starting point. So they are already somewhat de-risked. We know there's copper there. Let me start with the project in the middle, MPD. That's the project we are currently drilling. It is a copper-gold porphyry in southern BC, 3 hours drive from Vancouver. And the drills are turning. We're approximately 2/3 of the way through our initial drill program, and in January we'll get the results of that. So very exciting. At the bottom, Mojave is also a copper porphyry project situated in Arizona. We bought this project this year, and that one also is slated for drilling in the new year. And last but not least, Trapper in the Golden Triangle is also a copper porphyry project with some very interesting historic results. It's a little bit more remote. For this project, we are looking at joint venture transaction type opportunities. Why do we like copper? I think some of the previous presenters spoke already about the fundamentals. In the copper market, they are quite exceptional. The demand for copper is very much driven by anything that has the word green in it, any green technology, whether that's electric cars that need up to 10 times as much copper than conventional cars, whether that's solar or wind energy, taking 4 to 6 times as much copper as conventional power generation. All these industries are very high growth. There's a lot of copper demand coming. I've included here a quote from Rio Tinto's CEO that I found quite striking. Rio Tinto is a very large copper producer and a very conservative company, and their CEO went out this year with this statement that in their analysis, as much copper will be required in the next 25 years as was produced in the last 500 years. So a lot of copper demand on the horizon. On the flip side, the supply side looks very empty. There are very, very few projects in the pipeline, and copper projects, by their nature, are mostly very large, long-life projects that take long to develop, and so there's good visibility. If a project is not in development now, it won't be in production in 5 years, and at this time, the development pipeline is as empty as it has been ever, so very, very little supply coming on. And this is the copper forecast that results, even as a quite modest 1.5% demand growth, there's a big supply gap opening up very soon. That will require much higher copper prices to be filled, and that's really the opportunity. Before I dive into our projects, these are the people behind the company. Chris Taylor is the founder and chairman of Dunnedin. He's geologist with a very good nose for good projects. Many of you will know Chris from our sister company, Great Bear, that he also founded. Great Bear was one of the biggest exploration successes in the last year and one of the best performing companies on the TSX. Myself, my background is for 20 years now in mining. I'm an engineer, MBA by training, and most of my experience is financial commercial. I should mention John Robbins, who's a very important part of our team, shareholder, also an advisor to the company, and also the founder of the Discovery Group, whom many of you will have probably heard of. Discovery Group is a loose alliance of companies that we are part of. We're very fortunate to be part of a strong group such as Discovery, with companies such as Great Bear or Bluestone Resources on our side. This gives us a lot more credibility, access to resources, technical expertise, financing, deal flow, and so on, and makes us a much stronger company than we would be on our own. So this is our MPD project in southern BC that we're currently drilling. It is located a 3 hours drive from Vancouver, near Princeton, very easy to get to. It's a large land package, and it's been consolidated from 3 individual adjacent projects. These projects have been drilled over the decades, since the 60s, by different companies at different times. But we now have, for the first time, the opportunity to actually drill the project and look at the project on a consolidated basis. And if you know porphyries, they are large systems where looking only at small corners of it doesn't make sense. So really having the consolidated package is the first step to really create value there. I should also point out the neighborhood. You see several copper mines there on the map. To our south is Copper Mountain, 20-something kilometers away, Canada's largest copper mine. To our north is Highland Valley, also a very large copper mine run by Teck. So it's a very prolific copper producing belt that we're in. What's also a very important point, what we really like about the project, is its accessibility. You see here the property boundaries, and you see at the top of the map a highway which is less than a kilometer away, Highway 97. At the bottom corner, another highway, 5A, also less than a kilometer away, transmission lines. There are logging roads onto the project. You can literally pack the drill rig on the back of a truck and drive onto the project, which makes it a lot more cost-effective to explore, and our exploration dollars go a lot further. These are some of the historic drill results. I won't bore you with the details. The points to take away are the grades we are seeing are similar to the grades that we see at the neighboring mines. The system seems to be very gold-rich, which is a bonus. There have been 129 holes drilled over the past decades, but most of them have only been drilled very shallow, to very shallow depth. So really, they only scratched the surface, literally. And what we very much like is that copper was shown over a very large 10 square kilometer area. So we know it's a large porphyry system. And this picture shows some of the historic drilling, and this got our geologist and Chris Taylor very excited. This is the hole that Chen referred to before, and shows the zones that we are currently drilling. Now let me explain what you see here and why this is exciting. It's a cross-section that shows historic drill holes. All the lines are drill holes, and the colors of the lines, as well as the background, show the grade. Red is high grade, and blue is low grade. And why is this exciting? You see at the top, at the surface, short holes. That's many of the short holes that were drilled in the 60s, 70s, 80s that encountered high-grade mineralization at the top. And then in 2013, the last operator of the project drilled for the first time 2 deep holes. That's these long lines, the vertical one and the diagonal that you see there. And what they found was very exciting. They encountered, obviously, the high-grade mineralization near surface, then nothing for some meterage, and then they hit porphyry mineralization at depth. And as they were drilling deeper, the mineralization was getting better. They saw more bornite, which is exactly what you want to see, and they encountered higher grades. So the intercept on this vertical hole that you see there, the intercept was 123 meters of 0.25% copper. That's a very respectable intercept. And the last 35 meter of that were 0.35% copper, so a higher grade and also more gold. And then you see the other hole that's going diagonally. That hole is 450 meters apart and encountered exactly the same mineralization and same characteristic. Also, the deeper they got, the better the grades. And that's the zone we will be testing. As I'm sure many of you know, porphyries can go very deep. They can go down kilometers, and we will be drilling these zones and follow the mineralization to depth and see what we can drill. So that's what's going on at the moment. We're very excited to be drilling. The program will be completed before the end of November, and the results will be available in early January. This is just a quick overview of our timelines. As I said, the drilling currently going on. The little red star, you see, that's our results early in the new year. And then we have more drilling planned at MPD, and then also at our project in Mojave in Arizona. So lots of news flow coming up. Last but not least, our capital structure. Currently, our market cap is 12 million. We're small. We have sufficient cash in the kitty to do our drill program that we have ongoing at the moment, and have just announced a small financing to top up our treasury. At the bottom, you see our share price. It's not what we like it to be. Our share chart, I think, looks very similar to most other junior miners, and the market have not been very kind to the resource industry recently. I've read a quote recently from an analyst who said, with porphyry exploration, you're always one drill hole away from 100 million market cap. I liked that quote, and we're working on it. We're drilling. So look out for our news flow, and I'm optimistic we'll be back with some good results and creating value for our shareholders through discovery. Thank you.